Hello, I'm Ian Martin. Welcome to episode 1 of the Old Fools. I'm a state pensioner. Here's David Quantick.
Hello, I'm David Quantick. I'm reading tennis at Yale University, and I'm here with our very first guest, Jenny Landreth.
Hello, I'm Jenny Landreth. I'm a writer and script editor. Yeah, I like an argument about swimming on the internet.
Okay, swimming shit.
You've got me there, Ian. You look how easily flummoxed I am.
I don't know. I mean, I thought we were having you wanted an argument about swimming. Could you swim backwards?
I can swim backwards, and I can swim any which way.
Do you get men offering tips on how to swim the way women runners do, and women doing any kind of sport at all? But they swim up next to you and say, "You're doing that butterfly all wrong, love." Stuff like that.
They do. What they generally try and do is, because I'm really old, so men aren't generally quite interested in talking to me. So what they tend to do is they overtake me and then slow right down so that you'd or they stand at the end with their legs spread so that you can't get to the end of the lane or whatever. So they don't try and talk to me. They just really wind me up.
Wankers.
Just being in the same pool, really.
Because it's lanes. Do they do that thing that people do to me on the motorway, that if I'm in the fast lane too long, that they overtake you and then go right in front of you?
Yes,
to make a
they
point?
do exactly that, yeah. And men really don't like being in the slow lane, so they'll go in the middle lane and go really slowly. And it's like...
You get undertaken so that some man can parry up on your left in the slow lane, just to show you.
I have been literally undertaken where somebody dives underneath you.
OMG.
And comes up in front of you.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's so fucking annoying.
Arseholes.
You can't do that on a motorway.
No.
Thank God.
Unless it's like the wacky races and you can make your car flat and drive underneath. But
unless you're in a cartoon, it just doesn't happen. I don't know what anyone else has been doing this week, but I've been looking at AI for a number of reasons. The first reason is that ITV are going to chuck 95 grand at some AI machine and ask it for some ideas for new ITV programs. Do you want to know what it's come up with so far?
Yeah, go on.
You didn't know they were dead. They are now. Celebrity pop obits presented by Lad Baby. That's one.
My God, is that real?
Yeah.
Christ.
Going, gone. Auction fun with Robin Romesh, trying to sell things and talking really quickly for a very long time. The Kent Scallies, hilarious new sitcom set in the fast-paced world of County Line's drug dealing. I like this one. Johnson's Conscience.
That'll be a short programme.
No, au contraire. Boris Johnson travels Britain on a bike and is presented with difficult moral dilemmas along the way. E.g., would he shoplift from a charity shop?
Should he defecate in a bin because there's a bin and he needs to defecate and it's close?
Well, actually...
I'd watch that. Wouldn't you?
I'd watch all of them. There's this one called The Shit. It's like The Traitors, but everyone has to work out who the shit really is, presented by Quentin Letts of the Daily Mail.
I see where you're going with that.
Showbiz Residue, obtaining, swabbing and analysing the stuff the stars leave behind.
I would watch that.
Would you, though? Antique Shit Show. Members of the public bringing their prized possessions to be evaluated by experts with a twist. Everybody's pissed.
I'd watch that.
You would watch anything, wouldn't you? Okay, this is the last one. The last AI prompted ITV show is called Am I Fuck? Celebrities are presented with a series of adrenalizing challenges: bungee jumping off the Shard, picnic in a gorilla enclosure, set fire to yourself, etc. Are they up for the challenge or are they fucked?
I would definitely watch that because of the jeopardy. I think we should be allowed to nominate who we want to bungee jump, push off the Shard, or sit in a gorilla enclosure. I think there should be a public vote. Nobody's
doing it, Jen. That's why it's called Am I Fucked? Because none of them, they're not doing it. None of them are doing it ever.
So it'd just be the most expensive bit of research in the whole world, the whole setup, and then they just go, "I might fuck doing that," and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the linking theme here is that the AI machine that's taken £95,000 of real money has come up with some stupid shit ideas that won't ever work. And despite the fact that David Quantick sitting there saying, "Oh, I watched that," after every single one of them, nobody's going to fucking watch any of them, are they?
I'd watch them.
You might have just said that.
Yeah, but I would watch them. This is what you don't get. These shows, they're all quite entertaining. You know, they're not massively entertaining, but they're a lot more entertaining than, I don't know, people with the word judge mysteriously in their name, slapping people on the shoulders in a biscuit factory.
I've watched that.
I'd watch a program called "I'd Watch That" by David Quantick.
It's like Gogglebox, but worse. Like Gogglebox, but it's just David Quantick watching programs that he's thought of, not getting made on ITV.
I've made a lot of programs that nobody watched, but they said they'd watch them.
What have you been interested in this week, Jenny Landreth?
I have watched MasterChef Australia because it doesn't have Greg Wallace on it. It's like all the good bits of MasterChef, no Greg Wallace. But it does have Jamie Oliver on quite a lot. And he stands in a way, this is not, you need a visual medium for this really, but he never puts his chin down. So he's always got his chin up because obviously somebody's told him, if you put your chin down, you've got too many chins, mate. So he stands with his chin up the whole time. But apart from that, I've been thinking about something that I heard about, which is Lord Walney.
Oh, yeah.
Who is the government's anti-extremism advisor. He's a lord, and he suggested that people should pay to protest, which I thought was a good idea, because I thought, you'd have popularity contests then. The idea was that it would be groups that paid because protesting has a policing cost. So he said that people, and it's all come about because of the regular Palestinian marches. So if it was anything else regularly being protested, he probably wouldn't feel quite the same way. But he said that people should pay to protest. And I thought, well, if they're going to suggest it now for groups to pay, it won't be long before individuals will be required to pay to go on a protest. And I wondered if I would ever, get my little app and download a ticket, and it would be on Ticketmaster, so there'd be surge pricing, and what I would actually pay and what I would pay to protest.
How much would you pay to protest then?
It kind of depends.
20 quid.
You see, 20 quid is not a lot of money these days.
Yeah.
But, when I was a child, you could buy 2 pairs of shoes for 20 quid. Right. So I'm a bit parsimonious about these things. So I'd only maybe go on a cheap protest.
Yeah.
Which would probably be a really shit one that I didn't really care about.
Yeah, that's good. That's a very good use of money.
The thing is, I would pay not to protest. That would be a useful thing. That sort of urban myth about doctors in China, apparently you pay them when you're well, so that when you get ill, all these fictional Chinese doctors are like, oh my God, I'm not getting paid, so I'll be...
Yeah.
I would pay I would pay a tariff not to protest, so I wouldn't have to go out on a Sunday with an old banner with SWP stuck on the bottom and march around Trafalgar Square shouting at rats. If I could get a discount, like a senior discount, because, it's not fair on older people to protest because they protested against things in the 80s and nothing happened. So I'm trying it out again.
I think a discount or a regular user discount, you could buy 10, get one free or something.
Yeah, that would work. You could have a little card like those traffic things for parking. You scratch a bit off with a coin.
Or a loyalty card that if you go on 10, they give you a free kettling or something. I don't know.
I like the kettling idea because I think there's a great opening here for PFI, which is coming back into fashion. And it seems to me that there's a lot of money to be made by private-public partnership protesting. You could have premium protesting where, you've got all that lovely sense of belonging and everything, and they just give you like a gentle kettling. So you get that sense of community, that physical sense of being in a crowd, but they just give you that gentle little kettling with non-threatening policemen with foam truncheons. Not like actual kettling where, just for a laugh, some fucking arsehole copper splits your head open and an ambulance finally arrives, takes you to the nearest hospital, and there's a copper on the door saying, this hospital's been commandeered for police wounds only, and until the fucking paramedic threats to punch him in the face, you finally get let in, and then the court case drags on for years and years and years, and it ends up with the police saying, well, we don't actually know who hit you on the head with a truncheon. Just be safe out there, yeah? Like happened to my friend's son. Fucking arseholes. Anyway, not that, but a nice, gentle kettling, a kettly cuddle.
A kind of a Bowden kettle, or something.
A Bowden kettle, yeah.
An actual kettle. Why not get an actual kettle?
Actual kettle, here we go.
It would be kind of nice that you turn up at the protest and then you walk past all the oiky people in their keffirs and that, and all the students who've taken a day off learning things, and you just get right to the front and you're like, I'm here, I've got the soft kettle approach, and they get you backstage and you get to meet, I don't know, people from large organisations and Jeremy Corbyn, and have a glass of champagne, and then you sit down and it's like you can watch it on a big screen. You don't actually have to, or you can pay someone to walk for you. That would be amazing. And then you can be, what's it called, photoshopped in later on, your face.
No, that's no good. You need to, it's experiential. No, you've got to be there. That's the whole point. But if you have a luxury process weekend where you get arrested gently, again, politely escorted into a stretch black Mariah, and then taken to, I'll tell you who the Home Office should partner with, Soho House.
Yeah.
And you get taken to like Soho Belmarsh or Soho Strangeways. So you get a lovely little fantastic room service. The whole works. It's absolutely fucking brilliant. But you have to...
A little Dalesford cream tea is served.
Yeah, all that. I mean, the food's amazing. But there's always... You've got to have something to compare. Oh, yeah, I spent the weekend in the cells, yeah? So there's got to be something wrong with it. Like you could only get sparkling water or something.
You need the shot. So it's like when you go on the fairground thing, the roller coaster, and they take a picture of you coming down the thing. What you need is the hands behind the back, plastic. Because I saw one, a protester, hands behind the back, taped on, and a really good portrait shot of you on your knees, looking defiantly up at the camera to show...
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela, he's dead. To show South Africans of the olden days that you mean business. Sorry about the references. I haven't been out for a long time. You know, that sort of thing.
Free Navalny. Yeah. Oh, he's dead too now.
Everyone's dead.
Everyone's fucking dead. That's the trouble. What about instead of just phoning it in, if you pedestrianise the Mall, for instance, you could then have a circuit route along the Mall, which is used for every single protest, so everybody knows what they're doing. And it needn't even, you could just hop on an escalator, not an escalator, the other thing, what are they called? Travelators. Travelator, go round, down the Mall, Travelator, all the way back up the Mall, all the way down the Mall like that. And maybe even the king would come out on a balcony, give a little wave to the protesters. You'd be very civilized.
Well, he'd have to kind of do a mock grrr, wouldn't it? You know, he'd have to pretend to be furious, because otherwise it would undermine your protesting experience.
You could get Greg Wallace to be the king.
What's Greg Wallace got to do with it?
I just think it would be nice because, to be honest, I'm not that bothered seeing the king, you know. Like many people, I remember the Queen, and she was sort of the David Bowie of royalty. And Prince Charles, while nice, is a bit lower on the scale. He's like Bruno Mars. So I like Greg Wallace because I've one ambition with him, to see if his eyes are actually stuck onto his glasses. Because if you look closely at Greg Wallace, it looks like his eyes are stuck onto his glasses.
What we need now is to find a situation where Greg Wallace takes his glasses off, and then you just see there's nothing.
There's nothing.
He's got blank where his eyes should be.
Oh, good, like Beaker off the Muppets.
Oh, Beaker off the Muppets.
Yeah.
Pretty similar. Beaker off the Muppets and Greg Wallace are essentially the same Muppet.
Greg Wallace is getting too much airtime on this podcast, I feel.
Well, he is everywhere. Well, that's because an AI wrote it. It's a podcast about Greg Wallace, where people are forced to talk about Greg Wallace.
I'm sure he's very nice in real life. No, actually, I'm not sure about that.
It's a grey area.
What's been on your mind, David Quantick, Emmy Award-winning comedy writer? What's been on your mind this week?
I can't remember. What is supposed to be on?
Was it anything to do with Russell Brand?
Russell Brand, as you may have heard, has been in the news, by which I mean on my phone, for trying to flog amulets which is not a word you hear very often these days.
True.
Ambulance, like magical bracelets or trinkets or candelabra or tiaras. It's that sort of word. And he's become this weird. Everyone's talked about his journey, how he used to be, a comedian, like literally used to be a comedian. And then he was like a left-wing firebrand, sorry. He was a left-wing fire thing.
Eater,
yeah, he was.
starter.
Pretty much. Then he disappeared because he got into trouble for things. And then he came back as a Christian, which is very much the last refuge of a scoundrel, as they say. And now he's flogging stuff. And I don't mean flogging in the sense of, whipping people in public like some Christians do. I mean, he's selling amulets. Traditionally, when people gave it all up and became Christians, they became very humble and they stayed in and they wore sacks and things like that, like Profumo. But Christians going on to sell amulets, I can't get my head around it.
Like Trump, he's been in trouble over alleged sexual assault, right?
No, that's true.
And he's now adjacent to some extremely nutty Christians and start selling Christian trinkets like Trump's Bible, and now they've got Brand's amulets with WWSJD engraved on them. What would sexual Jesus do? And he's now, the church people supporting him and supporting Trump, he's not they're not ideal adverts for the New Testament with all that love your neighbor stuff. They are quite Old Testament. And he and Trump are all that Old Testament smiting and tribalism and vengeance and death and no sense of humor. But I asked someone in America, how on earth evangelical Christians, even the less nutty ones, could support Trump. And it's perfectly simple, they said. God is apparently testing us all the time. Okay, gotcha. All the time. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck you down a right old sort, Donald Trump. He's a fucking casket of disaster. But I have chosen him. And for you to support him is a test. It's your test. And this is the test I've laid. So everybody knows he's a pussy-grabbing arsehole, but God's put him there as a test. So that it's a test of faith. The more you believe in this arsehole, the stronger your faith is. And then Brand's doing the same, right? Sexual allegations. Oh, no, I found Jesus. I've got God right up me. I mean, he's within me. And obviously, if he's within him, then whatever fucking Russell Brand does is godlike, right? Job done, sorted, bosh.
But Brand used to be, I've seen him do stand-up. I'm sure you guys have too. And he was a funny dude. He was funny, He
was, he's always creepy, right? He presented as a kind of dandy rapist. Now he's changed his clothes. He looks like some fucking folk singer who is still in touch with his sexuality, but he's still the same guy.
We used to think that dandy rapist was clearly a good look in the 90s when he was funny.
There is a thing though with people off the internet, and I think this is partly something the internet has done, which is a focusing. When I was a boy, you had one choice. You could be funny and you weren't allowed to do anything else. You weren't allowed to have an opinion. And obviously there was alternative comedy. It was all a bit mixed up. But there was an understanding that if you were a political comedian, that was fine. That was the kind of comedy you did. And if you were, like, say, a comedy writer, you were generally writing comedy. And there was a whole thing of your opinion. It wasn't necessarily that interesting to other people. And in recent years, there's been, I sound a bit pontificating now, but there's been a kind of thing of people get famous and assume that people are interested in their opinions. That if you've written a hit sitcom, for example, naming no names, people are interested in your views on the American government. And I think there's a bit of this with Russell Brand. It's just, I don't know, I've never seen him live. I saw him get an award once and he's in the Minions movies. So I'm at a loss to understand why I'm supposed to care about anything else he does.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like him.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. I should have just said, I don't like him. And then another show that ITV is creating is, I don't like him. where someone says they don't like someone and other people agree.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to be in the edit, isn't it? Jenny, just say, I don't like him. And then what Steve will do is edit it down so that we just go from, what about Russell Brand? And then we all say, I don't like him in various voices.
Well, yeah, we can have Greg Wallace, I don't like him. And now we've got Russell Brand, I don't like him. But Russell Brand, I did used to like him. It's like, you know.
Did you used to like him?
Did you? Did you used to like Russell Brand?
I used to really, and I'm kind of an archetype of a person who would definitely not have ever found him funny. I used to find him really funny.
Wow.
I think it's because, and I've met him a few times, and I've had really long conversations with him. We had a long conversation once about how good he is at clay pigeon shooting. So
that's really easy,
and I think
clay pigeon shooting. I can do clay pigeon shooting.
Can you though, David?
Yes, I can. I did it for an article once.
No, you couldn't.
Brilliant.
You'd be shit. You'd be shit at clay pigeon shooting. So would I. On a clay pigeon.
I think that's another programme. You, David Quantick versus Russell Brand, clay pigeon shooting.
Yeah.
You seem to have been quite in with Russell Brand and seen him a lot. You're sure you're not actually our Russell Brand?
Well, I think I had long conversations with him and got on quite well with him because I was outside of his, I'm going to shag her remit. I think if you were in that I'm going to shag you remit, it was an entirely different experience. But because I was definitely not, I was age appropriate. I was not blonde and, fancy. So I think we were just able to have a really good conversation. That's not to diminish what, the sexual allegations, which are awful. And but my experience of him was as somebody that I thought was really funny on stage, was a really good conversationalist. And then it all went to absolute shit because he turned into a terrible, lechy old creep. I mean, I think he probably always was, but that became much more kind of part of his persona.
Yeah. Can I just ask, David, these amulets that he's knocking out, are they sort of amulets that will alert the police if you broke the terms of your house arrest?
I don't know. I think it's a weird E. Nesbitt fixation because there's an adaptation of an E. Nesbitt book called Five Children and It, where he plays the Samiad, who is a creature who grants wishes and lives in sand. Eddie Izzard played the same character, interestingly enough, in a TV version. And there's a book called The Story of the Amulet, and I'm really trying hard to get a really lame connection joke to do with E. Nesbitt because, that's a huge hit on TikTok.
Your E. Nesbitt material.
People are just going to go, an E. Nesbitt gag.
Yeah.
Everybody follow this guy.
I hope someone edits out your little thing where you said, interestingly enough, as though it's hostage to fortune, David, isn't it, really?
You have to say that, otherwise people won't know it's interesting.
Okay, what I'm saying is interesting. Interestingly enough, is it though? Is it though, David Quantick?
You have to give pointers to people. It's stage directions for life.
So these amulets though, right? Okay. What I want to know is he just flogging somebody? He must have a backhander on this. Somebody must be buying these amulets. It's like people who buy Boris Johnson's book.
I mean, Boris Johnson, absolutely extraordinary. This kind of whole Darvo thing he's done, where he's reversed the situation, so that he's this kind of he's the victim somehow of of his own prime ministership. This kind of hounded out by a media hoo-ha and so on. It's pathetic. I don't know if you caught any of his media around Boris Johnson, but it was absolutely fucking pathetic. I mean, what was cheering was he's clearly really genuinely tetchy and pissed off that he's presented this bookie wook to the public, and they've all just laughed at him and said, fuck off. We remember we lived through it too, you arsehole.
It's almost policy that in every branch of W.H. Smith in Britain, they have surrounded his book with, I think they call something like, literally, surrounded by idiots, looked at by clowns. Some second-rate parody book of Boris Johnson has also been placed next to it in several shops. It's pretty much got porcelain figures of clowns with big hands pointing at the book. I actually saw a clockwork monkey that masturbated standing next to one. I don't know how that happened, What's that you've got there, Ian, for our listeners?
Oh, I've got a little test for you. Only one of these things about Boris Johnson is true. Okay.
Okay.
Right. At prep school, he told his classmates he had a pet elephant at home called Fuck Jumbo. Okay.
True.
You think that's true? Okay. He won a cross-country race at Eton by completing the middle section in a cab. He ended a relationship at Oxford University by taking the woman on a picnic and playing Elton John's "Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word" quite badly on the recorder every time she asked him a question, then packed everything back into the BMW and just left her there.
They're all true.
Hang on. As Mayor of London, he tried unsuccessfully to have the fourth plinth in Trafalgar Square occupied by a hologram of himself, welcoming tourists to the heart of the city in 28 different languages.
28, eh?
Which one of those is true, do we think? The Fuck Jumbo, the cab cross country, the recorder shit, the plinth.
I think the taking a cab on his cross country, I think that's true.
I'm going to switch my answer to the plinth out of a desperate attempt to look serious.
Yeah, okay. Well, they're all false. I mean, I just made them all up. So fucking, that's. But no, come on, that's another 4 minutes of podcast successfully achieved. Oh, you've got a fire starter tomorrow, haven't you?
Yes, I have got a Kickstarter. They're known as, by the younger people. But yeah, I've written a novel. I'm going to plug it on Kickstarter.com. It's called The Hyena. That's the plug. And it's too late to do anything about it.
Can I just ask, because it's about a painter, is that right? A painter we've never heard of who's absolutely brilliant. How often does Frida fucking Kahlo appear in your book?
Well, I started to like, since we're interviewing me now, thing is, I was never a big fan of hers. I like her pictures, but I always thought she was a bit annoying because she'd been in films and that. And then I started researching, and she wrote all these letters, and she was just spectacularly rude about everyone, and she was really funny. So I've become a massive Frida Kahlo fan now.
Wow, good. I'm the opposite.
Really?
On social media,
she's only not on social media. She's dead.
I know she's fucking dead. Everyone we're talking about Boris Johnson is fucking dead. Obviously.
Anyway, I'm so sorry I interrupted you, Ian.
Look, you're never more than, it's like the rat thing in London. You're never more than 6 tweets away from a fucking picture of Frida Kahlo looking interesting. Oh, God. It's tea towels.
It's true.
You go in Poundland to get a fucking Frida Kahlo tea towel. She's like Che Guevara. He's also dead, by the way.
But that's in the book. I wrote a whole section about my main character arriving at an airport in modern life and just seeing an entire... Because you go to an art gallery, you go to the shop, and it's all Frida Kahlo.
Yeah.
If the art gallery itself reflected that, there'd be like Constable, a Turner, Tracy Emin, and 8 million Frida Kahlos. There's probably an AI knocking out Frida Kahlo.
I like Frida Kahlo. Just to buck that I don't like this trend, I like Frida Kahlo. I think she's a fucking amazing artist. Yes, she's on socks, and I think that's a step too far.
Yes.
But, there's not many women artists who are on socks.
I'd rather it was Frida Kahlo than a vast amount of people, and she was brilliant. And I really like the fact that she did, by and large, just do pictures of herself in different varieties. Anyway, that's enough from us this week. Ian and I will see you next week, and Jenny's 2 sensibles come back. Bye, everybody. Bye, Ian. Bye, Jenny.
Just release us from this torture. Let's get on with our lives.
I'll go have my dinner at 6 o'clock.